you're going to take your small scale frame with varying lengths of netting. We're going to add these to it, but the netting goes in specific locations. You're going to use the design on this side, and you're just going to replicate what you see. And there's any number of ways to do this, but the first step is to match up your lengths of cordage and make sure they're not too long or not too short. Each one of these segments is going to add about 1/4 inch in length. So if your cordage is already touching the 2 points that you're going to start with, then it's going to be too long. I normally start on this side, and you can have this setting up as well if you want. Then I'll clip this on, but I want to show you what I'm talking about. That one is too short. See how much that sags? Or that one was too long to start with. So I would want to go in, find another piece of cordage that's a little shorter. This one should work. And these have already been installed on this side. And all I'm going to do for class is just take those off, and then you can figure out how they go back on. If you've ever played the game Operation, it's going to take some fine motor skills to figure this out. So this one went on here because I could see that this one was on first. So I'm going to put this first layer down. Then I'm going to take this one from here to there, and I'll put the next layer on. So you're just matching what you see over here to over here. Took what was on the bottom side here, all of these parts that were evenly spaced, and I replicated that, leaving a space in between each one. So this is the strap that I came from out to the hoop segments. What you want to avoid is taking a small segment like this and trying to stretch it all the way across. It'll stretch, but if you do that too often, it'll have too much tension on this PLA frame, the small scale frame, and it'll bend and it won't work. It'll start to fall apart and disconnect. So you have to have the different lengths of netting in the correct orientation. And what I'm talking about here is this longer length of netting is going to go here or there on this, and coming across and hooking it in here too. So I'm going to go to that one first, and then I'll take one of these longer segments and go across here. So again, all right, this is the last one. You'll notice this one is kind of a loop because it's really hard to tie a knot in the center of that with my big fat fingers. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to hook it on here, and this will be our last little connection that needs to go on, and we'll be finished. So again, kind of like the game Operation, if y'all ever played that, it was a board game where you had to reach in without touching the sides to pull out organs from somebody you were operating on. See how this is kind of bending up here? That's because it's got a lot of tension on it. It'll work, but that's the pattern you're going to follow and see if you can replicate what you see over here. It's easier to lay it down than it is to stand it up because it'll continue to fall over a lot of times if you try to stand it up while you're messing with it. You don't have to worry about doing these segments. They're just there for reference. So I'm not going to tell you what this frame is yet if you haven't guessed. But this netting, I will give you the purpose behind it. It's for safety. The netting down here isn't as important. It still needs to be there, but it doesn't have to cover all areas. Same thing for the netting on top. It doesn't need to cover all areas, but netting is essential to keep things safe.